How exciting.
It's alive.
There we go. Hello, everybody, from whomever is tuning in. I'm Colleen Krueger.
How exciting.
Oops. I'm Colleen Krueger from Music Calgary, based here in Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. I'm excited to be hosting our digital talks in part of our SoundOff Summit Digital Strategies online events. We're going to be just talking with some industry professionals about how they got their start in their career, what changes they've seen happen within the industry they work in, and also some future ideas on what's going to happen as we evolve online and use more and more digital platforms and apps. Yeah. So today we're going to talk to Lauren Churchman. She's from BBC Radio 6. She has been the assisting music programmer at the station, and looking forward to hearing all that she has to share with us today. Hello, Lauren.
Hi, Colleen.
You?
Yeah, good. How are you?
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Okay, good. Technical things, we'll suss them out as it's evening for you. You're based in London, so we're calling across the pond today.
Yeah, it's not too far from my bedtime, so you're lucky to catch me.
So we'll just get started, and we'll just have you introduce yourself and a little bit of a background on the work that you've done and how you got started working in music.
Sure. So I'm Lauren. I am the assistant producer on the music team at BBC Radio 6 Music. As Colleen said, I've been at the BBC for 8 years, and I've been in my job for nearly 6 years. And before that, I worked at Radio 1 and 1 Extra, which are two very big kind of radio brands in the UK. And I also worked in music management, helping out with lots of artists. And before that, I worked in live events, and I did student radio at university as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you've had a long career within the radio industry.
Well, it's kind of a half and half job. Like, you're half in radio and half in music. So you're sort of, you're not fully in either. Well, you're kind of fully in both, actually. It's sort of like two jobs at once. So this was a role that I first did at student radio. I was head of music at my station. And, surprisingly, working on music programming at student radio is not crazy different to working at it at a national level. You'd be surprised it's the same thing. It's just picking the best tunes for the audience, really. Like, it's as simple as that. But obviously at the BBC, there's a lot more to kind of think about. But so when I was at student radio, that was sort of my first taste of the job. And I tried lots of other kind of things in radio. When I worked at Radio 1, I was freelancing, and I worked across every single show in the space of 2 years. And I worked 7 days a week, and I worked crazy hours, and it was pretty wild. And I worked on events, and I filmed stuff, and I was in the studio, and I did the music stuff. And I kept coming back to the music team. And I just loved contributing to the artists' journeys. That was so important to me. I'm a classic one of those people. When I was a teenager, I'd be like in my room listening to music on my headphones when I was meant to be doing homework,
Oh yeah.
And then I think a lot of people probably can relate to this. My first love really taught me about music when I was a teenager, and then it just took over my life. And yeah, like I said,
band you two or you both listened to?
Sorry?
What was the band you listened to? Like
the main one that he introduced me to, well, there were lots, but it was the National.
Oh yeah. That's a good
and it was kind of before they were really big, before they were cool. So I have, a very long-lasting love for the National still now, but it was lots of the Shins, and it was all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then I just kind of ran with it. And then, I worked at Radio 1 and music at Radio 1. Radio 1 is like the BBC youth brand, so it's mainly chart music. which is great. And there was lots of pop stars kind of in and out of the studio all the time. But I always liked a more alternative side of things. And the job came up at Six Music and I went for it. And they playlist the National and the Shins and so many amazing artists. And it just kind of clicked when I got there. And I finally got to work with the music that I really love, which I think actually sometimes is a bit of a rarity in our industry. I think you're really lucky if you work with music that you really love. And I felt very lucky.
Yeah, 100%. I would say like working in music is 90% passion, 10% about the job,
Yeah.
So it's like you need to be passionate when you're working in an industry that's like constantly moving. And if you don't have that passion behind you, it can be a little harder to keep it going, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I think it's so important. Like, so in my job, I get sent hundreds of records every week. So you have to have that kind of passion and you have to apply it and you have to, have really open mind and open ears to any kind of genre. And that, like I spend all my time listening to music, which that's what I want from a job. So it's great.
That's amazing. So you went from like an early teen loving music, went to campus radio in England, and then you went to the BBC and have sort of moved up through the stations.
Yeah.
So when you discover music, do you like sort of scour the internet for it, or it's only submissions that you get online, or is it a combination of your own discovery and what's pitched to you guys? Or
it's a bit of both. I wish it was more stuff that I went and found because that's what I want, but I get sent so much music that it's hard to even listen to all of that. So when it gets to finding your own stuff, it's a lot. But definitely the last few years, I've been finding some really great tools online to kind of find different stuff. But one of the ways I find music is at gigs, which obviously we all miss a lot. But, the support bands at gigs, going to a festival and just seeing whoever's playing, like that's how I found some of my favorite bands. And that's kind of the best thing when you're just at a live show and you see something that connects with you that you didn't even know, or you go and see an artist that you've heard one song from and you think, I wonder what this is about, and then you go and you have a great night and then you really embrace that artist. And then I'm really happy that's something I can take through at a playlist level and help that artist along a bit in their career. So it's a nice journey for me. But yeah, so it's kind of a mix, but yeah, we get sent so much music.
Yeah, I can only imagine, 100%. But you do, like, I think the BBC is very great at organizing playlists and sort of creating the blocks of interest for audiences. And I would also say that like BBC does a great job at like sharing the playlists using online tools.
Mm-hmm.
So for the audience, it's like really easy to sort of dive in and discover the artists that you're sharing, which is nice. And it's like full discovery from an audience perspective as well. But yeah, I can imagine that it's like pretty overwhelming how much you get in a day.
It's hard, and you want to be able to listen to literally everything, because for all I know, the next Arctic Monkeys are hidden at the bottom of my inbox and I just haven't got around to it, and that actually is hard. But yeah, there's only so much time you can give to listening to music, which is a lot, but yeah, no, in terms of the BBC, I think we're really open with what we do. We have really clear goals. Six Music, we're for curious music lovers, and we play things completely different to any other network that you're going to hear. And it's a real journey of discovery. And I think, we've got our own app at the BBC Sounds, where we have music mixes and you can listen back to all the kind of live radio content at your will, at your leisure. So there's kind of that side of things too. And yeah, I think there's so many great kind of tools of music discovery, not just in the BBC, but in radio in general. But I think we play more diverse artists at Six Music than any network in the country. When you look at the stats of the amount of new artists we play all the time, it's super high, and I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Do you guys have like similar to Canada where we have like Maple or CanCon like requirements? Do you have like a percentage of British music that needs to be played?
So there are some stations at the BBC that do. Six Music is a bit more freewheeling, and we don't have sort of bars and limits, but it's something that we look at every week. So as well as, you know, looking at the art itself, we look at the artists, but we look at country, and we look at vocals, you know, what's the balance of gender on the playlist. We look at all those kinds of things, but it's something that we just try and balance ourselves. We're quite lucky in that we can be really free, and it means we've got the playlist artists from countries everywhere. Nice. And that's really great to be able to, you know, language is no barrier for us. Like, we playlisted songs in Korean, songs in French, songs in so many different languages, and I love that we can be a bit more international because we don't really have these quotas. So we're quite free in that respect, but plenty of stations definitely have those quotas.
Yeah, for sure, totally, and it just varies depending on the station. I think you've touched on some elements of like digital strategy within the radio that you work with, but just bring it back to like beginning of your career. Were you filling in paper in terms of the playlist, and then have you moved online for majority of your job? I know it sounds really ridiculous. Like 10 years ago, it was still a lot of paper and pen. Now everything is digital. So it's like, what tools have evolved in your career that you've seen, or that you've been sort of seen the process of?
Well, definitely when I was at student radio, we didn't have the fanciest tech, and the playlist was just written on a piece of paper. So there was that. But yeah, now, I mean, it's at a very different level at the BBC, obviously. It's much more digital, but also, you know, on BBC Sounds on the app, we have had our playlist made into a streaming playlist too. So you can be just kind of interactive with those songs as well, which is cool. So it kind of transcends even just like a page listing what we play, really, which is good, I think.
Yeah, so like reconnecting it to like using, so people can just easily access the playlist, but not necessarily needing to be online listening to the radio to hear the song that it's played.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of interesting because it's like changed radio format from like on like in the moment you have to be there live. Like I remember as a kid, I listened to the radio all day long just so I could record that one song like on repeat, little tape cassette that I would record on, and I'd be like, I'm just gonna record this one song on this one side of this tape cassette so I can listen to it on repeat, because I'm a crazy person and I like listening to music on repeat, especially if it really triggers me.
We all did it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not alone.
No, I think things have obviously moved on a bit, but also not as much as you would think. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the beauty of radio. Radio is very pure. It's still radio, and you know, we have a festival and we have events and we go to other festivals and we have stage presences there, and that's great. So we have a bit of outreach and something for a live audience. But we're a radio station and we're really proud of that. And yes, we have this sort of digital arm of the BBC and the app, which we feed into, and it's a really nice kind of two-way relationship. But radio is radio, and there's still so much value in that. And I think even as the industry has kind of become more digital in many respects, and there's been lots more platforms popping up all the time in terms of streaming, there's still hugely a place for radio, you know, and people always like to kind of say that radio's on its deathbed and it's going out of fashion, but it's not true. Radio's growing. There's more radio stations launching in the UK all the time, and our listener figures at 6 are growing all the time, and that's amazing to see. There's hugely a place for it.
Yeah, totally. And people like the human engagement with radio. I would think that the host is like creating a relationship with the playlist and like the information that they're sharing. So you're getting a bit more personality behind radio.
Yeah, it's
rather than just going to a playlist online and being like, press play on whatever playlist on whatever
Yeah.
platform. I won't say.
Yeah. To me, there's a difference between sort of lean in and lean back. Radio, especially Six Music, you know, if you're a real music fan, you're listening to our station, then you're listening because you want to hear something different and you're engaging with it. And like you say, you've got the presenters and we talk about the records and the passion behind them and the stories behind them. We have live sessions, we contextualize the records, and it's not just a nice song in like a chill coffee shop playlist. It's part of a kind of sonic journey, and we say, you know, we'll tell you about the artist and where you can see them live, not during COVID, and you know, we'll try and create that connection between the fan and the artist through us. Mm-hmm. And for me, you know, a lot of the digital platforms, not all of them, I think some of them do a great job of speaking more from an artist perspective and having that genuine connection. Others, sometimes it feels a bit throwaway, and it does feel to me like it's more about the mood of a record than the actual record itself, and it's less about even the artist. And you know, when you talk about how things have changed in the last few years since I've been at Six Music, things have changed in terms of campaigns, and I'd love to know what you think about this. But the structure of campaigns, you know, now radio plays a song, right? And we're in the business of building records. So most radio stations in the UK will probably playlist, or a lot of them, they will playlist a record for, you know, 8-10 weeks, and they'll really let it grow. And then it becomes a musical moment, which we really need culturally, these shared moments. Six Music, we playlist things for about a month, could be a bit more, could be a bit less. So we kind of try and refresh it a bit more to really get to more artists. But you know, while we'll have one record on the playlist, there already will be 1 or 2 records by that same artist launching at the same time. So we're playing the record that was 1 or 2 records ago, but they're launching something new because they feel this. I think there's a feeling that you need to respond to this, you know, weekly playlist churn that is on a lot of these streaming platforms. And I think there's almost a pressure to put out records and to keep, you know, relevant and new. And I don't actually know if fans want that, to be honest with you. I think fans, like you say, when you used to just tape a record and listen to it again and again and again, I think fans need to live with it.
I 100% still listen to songs on repeat. Like I was just listening to a new Flight song today because their album was just out, and I'm like, dang, this song is so good. They really like just capture that human emotion, and you're just like, I want this on repeat. So,
well, but that's when a song really like,
the energy that I have to put into listening to a song on repeat's a little less than when I was a kid and like the radio all day.
Yeah. Nice. I think there's a real magical moment when there's something in a song that just gets you, you know, and you can't get out of your head, and it's a compulsion. You have to go and listen to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the sort of change of campaigns the last few years?
Yeah, campaigning. Like I think the frequency is pretty. It can be really intense for some artists to have to perform and like put out music as often as the turnover can happen online, because they want new information every day. They want something new to cling to, and like the nostalgic long growth of a campaign feels a bit lost, except to this year. I actually feel people are taking their time a bit more, which has been nice. Yeah, it's like maybe my personal experience, just from the past, and like everyone's busy and moving around and getting stuff out really quickly, and maybe like not paying as much attention or diving as deeply into something as this past year has given us time. So I think that's been like a positive thing from this. Just having a bit more time to sit with stuff and like actually sink in and like allow yourself to like listen to the album on repeat for a month. But I think it's unique coming from like when you work in music, your interaction with music is different too. So it is pretty special when a song, after you've listened to music for so many years and so long, and like it's part of your job, to still have music pop up and trigger you and like you fall in love with it. You're like, oh, these are the reasons I'm in this, you know. This is like these are the reasons I like love this job, and I like love the art of the expression and just everything people do. But yeah, I do think that it's great if radio explores old catalogs, even if something's new, because I think people do, the older an album can like, or like the longer an album can sit with people, the more time they have to build like a nostalgic relationship with it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I do think that like having traveled to the UK and just seeing how people engage with art and culture and music, I mean, like more people know about the new bands in the UK than most countries know about the new music in their country. And I think it's just that the celebration of the artists and just the music people put out under the BBC umbrella is just like, it's pretty I don't know, it's just like, yeah, I would say the celebration is just pretty great and that you guys do like a really great job at like bringing in new with the old and sort of intermingling them so everyone's a bit happy, but then they're being exposed to new things. I think the first time I traveled to to BBC, first time I traveled to London, we were like listening to the BBC. And I think one of the hosts, she was just like hooked on the song and she's like, let's play that one again. Like, she's like, I liked it. And then just literally played the song twice in a row. I was like, what? Like, it just seemed really natural and she was just being so genuine. And I was like, heck yeah. And then it almost just made you love that song even more right away because you heard it twice. And it was like, oh, it's already so familiar.
Yeah, and if someone's really selling it to you and telling you what they love about it, you know, it's something to kind of hook onto, I think. But yeah, no, it's nice to hear what you say about the UK. We have an incredible music scene here. It is amazing. I think it's hard, like you say too, when you work in music, you're in a bubble. Music's your life, and you can kind of lose touch a little bit with how most people listen to music, you know, in that sort of maybe less obsessive way. Maybe, you know, it's more just a here and there kind of thing. Obviously not for everyone will be different, but I think, you know, obviously how people listen to music has changed, and there is this kind of battle going on for people's ears right now, which is interesting, and I guess we'll see how it kind of plays out the next few years.
Yeah, totally. There's just so many platforms, and yeah, it's hard to know exactly where audiences are living at any one time. Like, I think it was simpler even 10 years ago when maybe radio and YouTube were like the two places people would go, but now it's like a dozen platforms of streaming, and I don't know. Yeah. I can't even keep up in a minute day to day. So it's like, it's a little, it's hard.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, I don't know, for some people, they'll use a few things and they'll complement each other. You know, they might listen to the radio to hear that new thing, and then they'll go and delve into the back catalogue on a streaming platform. Or it could be the other way around somehow. You know, there'll be people who only want to listen to one thing, who pay a subscription to one service, and then that's where they're going to go. But obviously, I don't know, I think every service treats artists differently too. And I think that is an issue that is coming, well, it's here now, and we're talking about it, and there's been a lot of discussion of it in the UK recently. And I think we have to remember that music is an art form, and it's not just a commodity, and we're not just trying to take people's ears and take their kind of time and get them to listen for as long as possible. We're promoting artists, we're putting work out there, and we're trying to engage fans. And, you know, the BBC, like I said, we have a real pure vision. We just want to entertain people, and we want to get music out there. That's all it is. We find good music and we get it out there. So, you know, a lot of platforms have to make money. So there's a lot of different things that come in to play here. And, you know, I think, you know, yesterday Spotify launched a bit of hardware, which is like a music streaming device you can listen to in the car. So they're kind of branching out. There are different platforms doing different things, and they're not just streaming platforms. They're like tech, and they're, you know, sometimes they act like a label, and they're also like distributors. And so there's a lot going on, and I think It's
Yeah.
becoming more complicated.
I know it's like almost the technology has made parts of it a lot easier, but has also complicated quite a lot of it too, just in terms of ease of where to go or how to discover or how to share with the people around you, depending on what platforms they're using. Um, I guess one thing I would say about radio is that the uniqueness of the hosts can't go away. Like,
Yeah.
it can be digitized. Like, you can't just digitally imprint someone's genuine character. So it's like your hosts will always bring that kind of humanity back, I guess, or that connection
Yeah.
to the
It's
art.
a companionship.
Yeah.
And it's company, and
That's part of the future that can't change, right?
I don't think it will. And I think, especially during COVID, it's been really rewarding to work in radio because of the kind of that connection with the audience has been so strong. More people have been listening, and you just get some wonderful messages from people, and people need that kind of connection more than ever, and they have in the last year, and it's something we've always been giving them. And maybe some people forgot about it and they moved away and they started listening more to playlists or somewhere else, but it's been, I think, a real lifeline for a lot of people the last year. And like you say, I don't think it's not going to go, and I think that's part of radio's like enduring charm, really. It's that companionability, and the curation too.
Totally. For archiving, does the BBC keep shows online for only like a duration of time, or is it like, can you listen back a year ago to a show?
It's 30 days, and but if there's some content can kind of pop up again, like here and there, maybe not whole shows, but little pieces can kind of resurface. And we've got channels, YouTube channel, and but it is mostly 30 days because we have a lot of licensing requirements. So
yeah, totally. And there's got to be a line you draw and just be like, 30 days. That sounds good. Then we'll move on.
It would be an endless database.
Pretty epic. So it's like a part of digitizing everything is like just the digital space, and like how much space all of that data takes, and like how that's a huge change. And just like the access points, like we take for granted that does have some level of environmental impact. Every piece of data that we share and keep online in some regard.
And I think a lot of people probably aren't aware. It's not something that's really spoken about, but every tiny piece of data in anything that you do is coming from somewhere, and that somewhere is putting pollution into the atmosphere, really, and using up resources. So, but it's hard, vinyl, if you want to buy a record, that's using resources too. But you can use recycled vinyl, and you can use recycled cardboard sleeves, and have ethical and environmentally friendly supply chains, and there's a lot that you can do. But at the end of the day, anything we do as humans, there'll be some kind of resource we have to use. But when you think about streaming bots and how people create these fake accounts and just stream things millions and millions of times over and over to try and do whatever, beat the algorithm, and that is crazy, the amount of resource that's using. But that's the world we live in, right?
Our data hungry man world that we live in. It's just like the evolution's changed so much in a very short period of time, so it's just a really interesting evolution to look back on. And it's like within our career, like as kids we listen to tapes and then CDs, and then I'm really dating myself, but it's like this is the bubble that we live in, and we've seen a lot of change. And I think it like digital like just platforms and apps are really useful and great, but just interesting to see how it'll change and how we're going to continue evolving online, especially if we're like distanced and unable to like connect as in person right now. So, but it's great that we have all these tools and resources, and it can be a useful strategy for artists, and it's obviously a way to connect. So
yeah, and I think the last year too, some digital media has really come to the fore that maybe might not have got that chance beforehand. Like for me, the Bandcamp Friday initiative has been incredible in terms of supporting artists. Like I'm so happy that has been, and they continued it this year, and so much money has gone to artists and great causes, and it's really heartening to see, that commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great. So I personally would like that kind of line of things to continue and to keep growing.
Yeah.
But like you say, things have changed super quickly in the last 10 years, and who knows, you and I will be doing one of these again in 10 years time, and
yeah, we'll revisit.
What will we be talking about? I don't know.
We'll be like, we're on Mars. Hi everybody. Like, what's up? From Mars, like radio airwaves. Mars. I don't know. But yeah, it's just really interesting and fun, and it's good to keep in mind that all of this has, like, it all has a place that it lives if you're creating something online. And I think radio has its foot in both, like just live only and on demand, and it's cool in terms of like growing, and radio still being like a tool of discovery for lots of things, and lots of like information and art and music and all that stuff. So I guess we can like cap the conversation with like, what do you see for the future? In 10 years, what will we be
for our radio station on Mars?
Yeah. Radio station on Mars. What music will we be playing?
So I think there's going to be a period of more fracturing, to be honest with you, while the practices of all these sort of suddenly giant platforms is being examined a bit more. I'd like to think some fair practices will come out of it, but I think maybe for each different media, there might be a different practice, realistically. I think radio will always have a place. I think it's just an enduring medium, and hopefully it'll carry on growing and growing. But yeah, as for the rest, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know either. That's why I'm asking the question. But yeah, I would agree that it'll, like anything, it grows to be too big, and then it's really hard to manage at certain points. I do like the conversations and the like sort of reformatting of how artists are paid on streaming platforms, like including SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Just payment per like subscription model, being paid directly to the artist that person's streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Artists that I stream on repeat will probably really benefit from such obsessive listening patterns. So I think like definitely a lot more conversation in that direction, just like how art can be better organized in terms of getting that money to the artist quicker and with less admin and less people in between. And technology is going to be helpful to create that through line, like blockchains and Ethereum platforms, and just like talking through how data is exchanged and how it's organized. I think that's really cool. I think that would be an evolution.
Yeah, and I have forgotten what I was about to say, so never mind.
Blockchain.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh yeah, no, I was going to say, I think that it will be more and more crucial now to iron out the kinks in these systems, because we don't know the future of live music just yet. And I don't know about you, I had a real panic during the first few months of COVID that, artists would just stop making music in droves because they wouldn't be able to afford to do it anymore. And that hasn't happened yet, but it could prevent a lot of would-be artists from trying. And I think that would be a huge shame for everyone, for society, really. So if there's the mechanisms in place to properly support the artist, that's just going to be it's always been crucial, but we have to address it.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, here's hoping in 10 years when we reconvene that all these problems have been solved. Artists are paid $1 bajillion a song, because that will be what inflation needs.
Yeah.
So, like, optimism meets my pessimistic perspective. Good balance. But yeah, it's been very nice to chat and catch up and like hear about your career and just like your perspective, and also some digital ideas around radio and the future. It's been
Cool.
great.
Thanks for having me.